Cuba, it's me. Welcome to episode 295 of The Willow Show, which stands for Wrestling is Life. Life is Wrestling. Now, today's Spotlight province is Ontario. I've been doing them in order from west to east, and we have now gone in Ontario, a place where I call home, and a place where I've wrestled my majority of matches. What makes Ontario so special when it comes to wrestling? Because they have the biggest population of any of the provinces in Canada, that means more people, more opportunities. There's a lot of wrestling promotions in Ontario. There's at least over 20, between 20 and 25, I would say. And that's a lot more than most of every other province. There's some provinces where in Hamilton, Ontario alone, they have more promotions just in Hamilton than they do in an entire province, like Saskatchewan and Manitoba and a couple of the easternmost states. There's a lot of opportunity for that. There's also a great history of wrestling in Ontario. The Maple Leaf Gardens have tremendous history. They've been going on for a long time. There were some great shows run in Hamilton back in the day. Some of the greatest wrestlers ever came from Hamilton and Ontario in general. And made a big name for themselves. We did an episode, when I say we, I mean me and the cameraman, did an episode talking about the Ontario Hall of Fame a week or two back, and there was just so many names brought up of people that helped pave the way for the current stars now. And man, think about this, Ontario, Toronto actually, has held two WrestleManias. WrestleMania 6, Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 18, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. None of the other Canadian provinces can boast that. I know, me personally as well, a lot of people move from other provinces to come to Ontario because there's just more opportunities. Like, if you're wrestling in a certain province and you're getting booked on one, possibly two promotions, where in Ontario you have a chance to come here and you could be doing 5 or 6 or 7. Although it is kind of cliquey and it is hard to get in with everybody, and there's a lot of promotions, but there's only a certain amount of spots still. But there is tremendous opportunity, and it's great to be out here, and everything's close too. Like some of the other provinces, it's really spread out and whatnot. But we've had some great stars come from Ontario. Obviously, we've had like Edge and Christian are both from Ontario. Trish Stratus, they're all Hall of Fame. Well, I guess Christian's not a Hall of Famer yet. He should be, I guess, right? So a lot of talent has come from Ontario, and talking with some of the experts I know and the legends that I know in Ontario, they say Ontario is like one of the biggest hotbeds of talent anywhere in the world. If not, some of them think it is actually number one. There's so many places taking from Ontario, like NXT and WWE's taking, Impact's taking, Ring of Honor's taking, Japan's taking, because this is the place to be. They're sending scouts and whatnot. But what can you tell me about Ontario personally? What makes it such a great place to come for wrestling? Is it just because there's so many promotions? Is it because these promotions are really good? The one promotion is on Fight Network and Smash Wrestling, and then we got Scott D'Amore running Border City Wrestling. And that's really like an in for Impact as well. Some of the Impact tapings were done in conjunction with them. So what do you think? Let's hear it, people. Why is Ontario so great? What do you know about the history of wrestling in Ontario? What's your personal experiences watching or being active in wrestling in Ontario? It's got a special place in my heart. I grew up in British Columbia. Even though I'm Cuban, I grew up in BC. And I've come to Ontario, and Ontario has just won me over with its wrestling. I feel like I'm a tiny 0.00001% of the history of wrestling in Ontario, and I just love being a part and being around so long and being around other people who are even more important pieces of the puzzle, and I'm just proud to be a small part of it. And I have nothing for love for Ontario wrestling. I always try and support it and put it over, and I also am addicted to it. I'm always trying to find out the rumors about guys that I do know personally or guys that I don't even know. I'm trying to find what's going on with each fed and trying to stay in the bubble as much as I can and just find out who's doing well for themselves, what shows are doing well, what's their attendance like, what matches are getting over, and that kind of stuff. And like they used to do in Ontario indie wrestling, like year-end awards. They had this one website the Ontario Indie Wrestling boards, and that's pretty much where everyone went to get their information, although most of them were the wrestlers themselves. And they used to have these year-end awards, and some people would take it so seriously, like it was such a big deal. One time I won fourth place in the most hardcore category, and that was a big deal to me. I was happy. But let's hear from you guys. What's your take on Ontario wrestling? As always, on the Willow Show, like or you get a leg drop, comment or you get a clothesline, subscribe or you get a suplex. I'm your host, Elian Habanero. This is episode 295. I love wrestling. Cuba!